My brothers and sisters, don't be shy or embarrassed. Islam is practical. If it happens, simply make wudu and pray again. Allah looks at your intention, not the slip. One of the most important principles in Islam is that our acts of worship must be done with sincerity and correctness. Salah prayer is the greatest pillar of Islam after the testimony of faith, and it has certain conditions that must be fulfilled for it to be valid. One of those conditions is being in a state of wudu or ablution. Without wudu, the prayer does not count. Now, according to the clear teachings of the Prophet Muhammad if someone passes wind during prayer, their wudu is broken immediately. This is agreed upon by all scholars of Islam. Based on authentic narrations, the Prophet has said, Allah does not accept the prayer of anyone who breaks his wudu until he performs wudu again. The Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. That means the moment a person passes wind, the prayer is invalid. It doesn't matter whether you are in the first rakah or the last, whether you are praying alone or in congregation, the prayer is no longer valid. Continuing to pray in that state is not allowed because one of the essential conditions, purity, has been lost. It is very important to remember, however, that this is not a sin. Passing wind is a natural bodily function that no one can control. Allah is merciful and He does not punish us for what is outside our control. But the rule is there to maintain the sanctity and discipline of prayer. When wudu is broken, prayer is broken. Some people may feel shy, especially if they are praying in a congregation. They might wonder, should I keep standing so people don't notice I left? But the answer is simple, no. You should quietly excuse yourself. Leave the prayer, perform wudu again, and then return if possible. Remember, you are standing before Allah, not people. What matters is that your prayer is valid in the sight of Allah. Even if a few people notice you stepping out, it's also important to highlight what does not break your prayer. Sometimes a person may feel doubt. Did I pass wind or not? The Prophet gave us clear guidance. If you are unsure, do not break your prayer unless you hear a sound or smell something certain. Hadith Sahih Muslim. This shows the mercy of our religion. Allah does not want us to be trapped by whispers or constant doubts. Only certainty breaks your wudu, not suspicion. So the practical rule is the moment you are certain that you passed wind, your prayer is invalid. Stop, leave respectfully, make wudu and then repeat the prayer. It's that straightforward. This may sound inconvenient, but it actually teaches us an important spiritual lesson. Islam trains us to respect the sanctity of worship. Just like you cannot pray without facing the Qibla, and you cannot pray without covering your body properly, you cannot pray without being in a state of purity. All of these conditions remind us that Salah is not just a casual routine. It is a disciplined, sacred act of devotion. Another point to reflect on is humility. Passing wind is something that reminds us of our humanity. No matter how dignified we look, we are still human beings with natural needs. And Allah, in His wisdom, made these natural acts part of our religious discipline to remind us that we stand before Him in total humility with purity of body and sincerity of heart. In conclusion, the rule is simple and universal. If you fart during prayer, your salah breaks immediately. There is no embarrassment in it and no sin in it. It is simply a matter of going back, refreshing your wudu and returning to prayer with a pure state. What counts most with Allah is not that you never slip, but that when you do, you correct yourself and come back to Him in the right way. That is the beauty and mercy of Islam. It is practical, realistic, and focused on sincerity. When a person passes wind during prayer, their salah becomes invalid because their wudu ablution is broken. The next immediate step is simple but essential: renew your wudu. Without it, no prayer is accepted because purification is a prerequisite for salah. The Prophet Muhammad said very clearly, prayer is not accepted without purification. Sahih Muslim. This shows us that wudu is not just a ritual washing, it is a spiritual condition for standing before Allah. If it is missing, the prayer loses its foundation. Why wudu matters? Wudu is more than just washing parts of the body. It is an act of worship on its own, one that cleanses us physically and spiritually. Every time we wash our face, our arms, wipe our head and wash our feet, our sins are washed away with the water. The Prophet told us that when a believer performs wudu properly, their minor sins fall away from their body with every drop of water. Sahih Muslim. So when you renew your wudu after it breaks, you are not just fixing your state for prayer, you are also gaining forgiveness and drawing closer to Allah. What may feel like an interruption is, in reality, another opportunity for spiritual cleansing. No shame in starting again. Some people feel embarrassed to leave the prayer, especially in a congregation. They might think, people will notice me stepping out. Maybe I'll just finish my prayer anyway. But remember, Allah is the one we pray to, not people. If the prayer is invalid without wudu, standing there and pretending will not benefit you at all. In fact, you will lose both ways. You will not have prayed correctly and you will have deceived yourself. It is far better, more beloved to Allah, that you step out quietly, renew your wudu and come back to prayer. There is no shame in that. On the contrary, it shows sincerity and respect for the commands of Allah. The correct way to renew wudu, the method is straightforward and taught to us by the Prophet. Easy, make intentions in the year. Decide in your heart that you are performing wudu to purify yourself for prayer. Bismillah before starting. Wash your hands 3 times. Rinse your mouth 3 times. Rinse your nose 3 times. Wash your face 3 times. Wash your arms up to the elbows, starting with the right 3 times. Wipe your head once, including the ears. Wash your feet up to the ankles, starting with the right 3 times. Say the dua after wudu. Shadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. This dua brings immense reward, as the Prophet said. Whoever performs wudu properly and then says this dua, the 8 gates of paradise will be opened for him and he may enter through whichever he wishes. Sahih Muslim. So renewing your wudu is not just a condition for prayer, it is also an opportunity to earn Jannah. Wudu teaches us discipline. Another beautiful lesson in renewing wudu is discipline. Life constantly interrupts us. We plan, but things happen. Wood breaking during Salah is a small example of this. Instead of being frustrated, Islam teaches us to calmly return to the process, renew ourselves and start again. This is a mindset we can carry into all parts of life. Don't quit, don't panic, just reset and continue. Allah's mercy in purification. We should also remember that Allah does not burden us for things beyond our control. Passing wind is natural. It is not a sin, not a fault. The only responsibility we have is to renew our wudu. This is a mercy from Allah. He could have made prayer valid without wudu, but instead He gave us purification as a condition that we remain in a constant cycle of physical and spiritual cleanliness. Conclusion: so the moment your wudu breaks, the path is clear, stop the prayer, renew your wudu and then return. Do not be embarrassed, do not delay, and do not trick yourself into continuing without it. Renewing your wudu is not a punishment, it is a blessing. It resets your body, your mind, your heart before you stand again in the presence of Allah. Once your wudu has broken and you have renewed it, the next important step is to repeat your prayer from the beginning. This is the completion of the process, and it ensures that your act of worship is valid, accepted and worthy in the sight of Allah. Why start the prayer again? Salah prayer is a structured act of worship. Every part of it, from the opening takbir to the final salam, has to be performed in order with a valid state of purity. When wudu breaks, the chain is interrupted. It's like a lamp that goes out when the power supply is cut. You cannot just continue where you left off. You need to reconnect the power and start again. The Prophet Muhammad said, Allah does not accept the prayer of one who has invalidated his wudu until he performs wudu again. Zes Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. This hadith shows that salah without wudu is not valid at all. So the only option is to begin again after regaining purity. The mercy of a fresh start. Some people might feel frustrated. Imagine being in the last rak'ah, so close to finishing, and then realizing your wudu has broken. You may think, do I really have to start all over again? The answer is yes. But remember, this is not a punishment. It is actually Allah's mercy. Every new prayer is a new chance to connect with Allah, to earn reward, and to have sins forgiven. The Prophet told us that each time a Muslim stands for prayer with sincerity, his minor sins fall away. Repeating your prayer is not wasted effort. It is extra reward, extra forgiveness, and extra closeness to Allah. Practical advice in congregational prayer: if you are praying in jama'ah's congregation and your wudu breaks, the right thing to do is to quietly step away, perform wudu, and then either rejoin if the congregation is still ongoing, or pray separately afterwards. Don't feel shy or embarrassed. Remember, this happens to many people and it is completely natural. What matters is not what people think, but that your prayer is accepted by Allah. If you manage to rejoin the congregation, you continue from the point you joined them and then make up for the missed rakahs after the Imam gives salam. If you cannot rejoin, simply pray the whole salah on your own. Once you've completed wudu, the lesson of repetition, repeating the prayer, teaches us patience and sincerity. In life, things don't always go smoothly. Sometimes we have to go back, correct, and redo what we started. Prayer is training for this mindset. Allah is showing us, don't rush, don't cut corners. If it's broken, fix it properly and begin again. This is also a reminder that Allah values quality over quantity. One sincere prayer performed correctly with purity, more beloved than many prayers performed hastily or incorrectly. So repeating the prayer ensures that we give Allah what is worthy, not what is incomplete. No loss with Allah. It's important to remember that with Allah, nothing is lost. The effort you made in the invalid prayer does not go to waste entirely. Even though that particular salah doesn't count as an obligation fulfilled, the sincerity and effort are still written for you as good deeds. Then, when you repeat the prayer correctly, you gain the full reward as well. Subhanallah, this is how generous Allah is. Conclusion, repeating the prayer after renewing your wudu is not just a rule, it's a blessing. It preserves the sanctity of Salah, teaches you patience, and doubles your opportunity for forgiveness and reward. Instead of viewing it as a setback, see it as Allah's way of giving you another chance to stand before Him with full purity, focus, and sincerity. So if your wudu breaks in Salah, don't panic, don't feel embarrassed, and don't feel that your effort is wasted. Simply step out, make wudu, and repeat the prayer. Allah loves those who take care of their worship properly. At the end of the day, it's not about how many prayers you finish. It's about the quality, sincerity, and humility with which you perform them.